The feeling when I packed up all my stuff and headed out for boot camp was pretty intense, kind of scary. Just that feeling of just like, what did I do? And just not knowing what to expect. It was intense. It was scary. The reason I joined the military was partially because my dad and grandpa were both in the Army, and so kind of considered it, but really I was trying to go to school and work and pay for it and all that, and so college was another big part. I thought I was going to see the world, thought that was flattering, saw a lot of the Middle East and a lot of ocean, but yeah, that's kind of, I just wanted to put myself through something really hard and prove that I could go through boot camp and deployments and tough it out. And therefore, anything less intense than boot camp or deployments, I knew I could handle. I don't think you can really understand just what deployment is like and being in the middle of the ocean and tracking ships and aircraft and being in combat. It's hard to prep anybody for that. Being out to sea was a whole different world. Everybody's working, everybody's on this ship together. You're all wearing the same things. Basically all you worry about is your watch, your meal, working out, and if you have some collateral duty or some tests to study for, but very focused and isolated as opposed to being in port. The longest stretch I think was 54 or 56 days. I want to say 56, but yeah, 56 days out to sea. The first biggest reality check I had, I guess kind of two, same day. You get on and you're just overwhelmed. There's people and gear and all this, and they know what they're doing, and it's just kind of chaos, and you have no clue where you're supposed to be or not be or whatever, but luckily, they usher you and take care of you. And then you get down below deck, and same thing. You're just on a ship, which again, it's just a lot of bare metal, and you don't know where to go. You're totally lost. You went down a couple hallways, and you're like, I literally can't even get back. So that was intense, just getting there onto the ship for the first time. That night, also, sleeping in my bunk was the first time I slept in my bunk was the second time I'd cried, sharing, 6 feet with 6 women, because you're 3 high, 2 rows, and so you basically just have a 3x6 bed to sleep in that trices up, and that's where you put your stuff, and half a foot locker. And that's it. That's all your personal space. 4 toilets and 3 showers, 4 sinks, about 50-ish women. It was a big wake-up call. There were a lot of rough days. I think a couple that stand out were my second deployment. I actually was the first person that spotted a flare go up. Something happened and our aircraft went down. And so there's a lot of things to do, and I jumped right on, got the person to mark our Latin long, start doing all the stuff for a man overboard. Unfortunately, we did not find that person, and so that sucked. I also was the only search and rescue plotter on the ship, so we had another incident where we had two aircraft actually, I think, collided that time. I remember hearing over the radio, bird down, and we do so many drills, it didn't really set in, but it didn't feel like a drill either. And then I remember one of my first classes, ripping the curtain open and being like, we need you in, plotting. And so I was there with all the helicopter squadron captains and stuff, and I was the only person plotting, which was kind of intense and a lot of pressure to be with all these captains and trying to rescue someone and kind of leading that plot. So that was intense. One of the interesting stories I have was when we would do replenishment at sea, so where we'd hook up to a supply ship, we were getting razzed by Iranians on sea-doos with one guy holding a bazooka on the back, and they'd come at us, and so we'd have to break away really fast. Luckily carriers go fast, so we just got out of there. But yeah, I remember some of those incidences of being on watch and having to figure everything out and what's going on, what's our plan, what's the other ships doing. It was a lot of coordinating. Action was kind of fun, especially when you're in the middle of the ocean and don't see anything all the time. Kind of sad that I enjoyed that, but it was better than being bored out of my mind and not seeing anything on the radar for a week. A day that stands out for me is just a really nice memory was being out in the middle of the ocean. We had a movie night on the flight deck. We were on a carrier, so we got a little spoiled, and we have a makeshift Starbucks. So my friend and I got like peppermint mochas. We had our our fuzzy blankets. We were in the chairs. We're watching the movie, and like in general, that was just cool. But I remember one moment just like looking up in the stars, just kind of taking it all in. Like, wow, you're on a flight deck in the middle of the ocean, watching a movie with your peppermint mocha and your fuzzy blanket, and like just the stars were insanely gorgeous. Being a female in the military can be challenging. You're one of very few, and a good story to kind of express that was the first time I even got my email set up. I already had emails from males on the ship like, hey, wanna get chow? Like, what? Like, so it's a very odd environment as a woman. You're in the military. I don't know if they've made improvements in the past 10 years, but it's just not like any other work environment where that doesn't fly. Overall, I think I personally did a really good job of making it clear to everyone around me that I was uncomfortable if somebody did something, and even if it was a chief or an officer, I'd like take a giant step back and make them just look awkward, and it was like weird, and everybody was looking at them like, this is you, not me. I'm really glad that I served because it set me up. I was able to go to college and didn't have any debt. I bought a house at 28. The military really set me up for that stuff. I don't know how college would have gone for me. It was a rough 4 years, but came away with a lot of cool stories, and the benefits are pretty, speak for themselves. I'm married and have a 1-year-old, and watching her grow, and oh my gosh, she's learning so many things. She knows where her nose is and her mouth, and she's learning she's this many. So that, yeah, she's amazing. We really enjoy the stockyards, just kind of a lot more us, a lot more chill, just kind of have a beer and listen to country music. Now I'm in marketing. I work at an ad agency, and it's also kind of crazy and fast-paced. So maybe I just have a hankering for crazy and fast-paced. But I think at the end of the day, like no matter how crazy anything gets or how stressed or anxious I get, I do kind of remind myself I've literally had sea-doos coming at me with bazookas. So like launching this website a day later isn't the same. That perspective, I would say probably twice a month. That I just kind of have that, well, at least you're not deployed. At least you're not in barracks. At least you're not in Iraq. I've got a 1-year-old, man. I'm just trying to survive day to day. Advice for women joining the military. I think trying to find a good support group, just find whoever you want to run around with, and having someone in the trenches with you, not literally or literally, really just helps at the end of the day. If you're in a hard spot and not sure what to do with your life, I think it's absolutely a great place to set you up. You can either make a career out of it, or you can take the benefits and start a career after it. My name's Marlies Hooten. I served in 2011 to 2015 in the United States Navy.